Well, good afternoon. My name is Tom. I come to you from the great state of Maine. Welcome to my trapping shed. Get yourself a cup of coffee. I'm sitting here today. You can see I got a pot of traps over there. I got 30 more minutes on boiling traps. And after that, then I'll move on to waxing them. So I'm just sitting here having a cup of coffee. And as I was sitting here today, memory lane keeps, as you sit here and have coffee, especially whenever you're dealing with anything, trapping, hunting, all of that stuff, it's just you always think about some of the trips in the past. And I thought, well, I got time, and they're kind of on my thought process anyways, that maybe I'd talk about a couple of the trips that I've done in the past and see if you guys like it and all that. Well, for starters, I was born, bred, and lived here in the state of Maine my entire life. You could probably tell. Everybody says I have an accent, a Maine accent, but I kind of think it's all you guys that have the funny accent. Anyways, so that's what we'll start out with. Born and raised here. Wouldn't have it any other way. I can't even imagine moving out of the state of Maine. There's things I don't like about the state of Maine, and there's a lot of things that I do like about the state of Maine. I don't like the politics, especially the politics. That's but I don't know if it would be any better anywhere else anyways, so what's the difference? But anyways, that's not what I want to talk about here. I want to talk about, I was thinking, I run into a feller a couple of days ago. He had to be in his 70s at least, and he was getting ready. They were planning a trip for next year to canoe the west branch of the Penobscot. So we got talking about canoe trips and stuff like that. And just talking with him kind of brought back some of the great memories that I had canoeing some of the rivers here in the state of Maine. So I figured I'd spend the next few minutes talking about, it was 3 main rivers that I canoed. Oh, it would have been 1997, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 1997. Anyways, we'll call it 1997. There's only one way. I got my notes. I kept a log on a couple of those canoe trips, and so I like to go back and read the. It was quite a few pages because they were long trips. But anyways, I like to go back and read the log anyways. Every night when I climbed into my tent at the end of the night, it wasn't much because it might be tired or whatever, but anyways I would write down a couple of paragraphs about the day and all of that. And what we accomplished and just different things like that, how the day went. So anyways, let's start out with the Allagash. The Allagash was the Moose River trip was the first one that I took. We'll start there, the Moose River trip. It's just a small, no white water to speak of. There's 3 places there that does have a little bit of current, nothing major. But I have some regrets on that trip too. I had my daughter on one of those on that trip, and I can't remember. I'll have to ask her. She wanted to ride the whitewater, but everybody else had pulled out. I actually brought a bunch of canoes down through it for other people that was with us that didn't want to run the rapid, and really didn't want to walk around it either with the canoe. So I ran my canoe down over, parked it, and went back and got a couple other canoes and rode those down over. So I'm trying to think if I had my daughter, I know maybe the first time I had her walk around, and I know she was disappointed because she was a daredevil anyways. Her whole, and even, well, she's gotten better now because she got 4 kids, so now she got to pay attention more. But I can't remember. I'll have to ask her if I think she got to ride down in one of those canoes. I said jump in. But the Bow River trip, I did that trip because it was a tester trip. At that point, I hadn't done other than canoeing for fishing and hunting, stuff like that. I mean, I live on a swamp here, so me being in the canoe is like everyday thing back during that time frame because of deer hunting. You know, the month of November until the stream froze up, I was in the canoe, and then all of October for scouting and all of that was always in a canoe. Maintaining tree stands and all of that was in a canoe. So the Bow River trip was an actual canoe trip where you leave, it goes in a big circle. Where you park is where you come out. So that's what makes it unusual as a canoe trip, and also why a lot of people do it. Because you put in on one lake, canoe across it, and then you've got a portage to another lake, and then you canoe out the base of that lake, and then you come down the Moose River until you hit, I'm pretty sure it was the first, I know it was the first lake that you put in on. So the Moose River comes around to the bottom of that lake. Trying to think of the name of that lake. I think it was Addian. I'd have to look at the map. I mean, we're going back a long time for this old boy's memory. But anyway, so you canoe down through there, and you canoe the whole river trip, and then you come out where your pickup is. So that was kind of nice. And we did it with very little food, me and the guy I did it with, because we were preparing for the Allagash trip, which we were going to take 10 days for it. And then we were preparing for the St. John, which we were going to take anywhere from 10 to 15 days for. You know, fish our way down through, take our time, enjoy the campsites, enjoy absolutely everything that you see going down through. So on the bow trip, we fished our way through. We caught some brook trout. We picked some fiddleheads. We found some crayfish that were nice big crayfish. I want to say like a baby lobster. They had to be 6 inches long. So we found those and we steamed those up for supper, stuff like that. But we didn't have a whole lot of food with us on that particular trip because that's the way we were going. Plus it was right in the middle of fiddlehead season, so that river, oh my goodness, you could fill 10 canoes with fiddleheads. So we did the bow trip, wet our whistle there with canoeing, with gear, what we kind of needed, what we knew we didn't need afterwards. And then kept all that in mind for when we did the Allagash. Now, if you don't know what the Allagash is here in the state of Maine, the Allagash is called the Allagash Wilderness Waterway. Look it up. It's a lot of good with the Allagash and a lot of bad. I didn't realize the bad until I had run the river. And then I can't remember, halfway down the river is when we figured it out. And that's because we ran into an 80-year-old old Maine guide that was born and raised on Long Lake of the Allagash River. And he was well into his 80s when we met him. We met him. He had a 5-pound lake trout. He said, "You guys want to fish for supper?" And he gave us that lake trout. Then we sat and talked. But where we was camping, that's why he came over. Where we was camping was where he was born and raised, right on that beach. It was back before it was the Allagash Wilderness Waterway, and that's why I say it's got some good and some bad. The bad, and I don't like it, and that's just another thing about the state I don't like, and I wasn't around back when that happened, but he was 80, so it had happened within the last 40 or 50 years. Or I can't remember what age he was when he said they got forced out. The state of Maine came in and they bought out every camp owner on the Allagash. Because the Allagash Wilderness Waterway is a mile long. I mean, a mile wide. They got the river, and then they protected a half a mile on each side, from what I've gathered. And what we saw was, every once in a while, we'd see concrete steps. You know, like the, house steps. No camp, no house, no nothing. Couldn't figure it out why. These concrete walkways coming down to the riverbank or coming down to the side of the lake. And that was why. The state of Maine came in, bought them out, and then tore the buildings down. And this Jake fella, I'm sure he's passed away by now, but he, like I said, he was in his 80s when we ran into him, and that was back in '97. But he was telling us a story. His father owned 5 hunting camps there, and it was a guiding camp for bear hunters, fishermen, anybody that could fly in. They were on Lawn Lake, so I'm pretty sure it was kind of like an airport. But anyways, they had 5 camps there anyways for sports, and the state came in and bought them out and tore everything down and forced them to move. I don't think that's right. I just don't think that's right. I think that if the state's going to do something like that, the people, as long as a family member is in the family and stays in the family, they ought to have the right to keep their property. I don't care who would argue different. If you want to get in the comments and say some nasty stuff, I'm going to be right in your face on that one, because I don't think it's right. I don't care what they were saving. I don't care what the excuse was. It's not right that they came in and forced them people out. And we got the same thing going on today with the newest national park here in the state of Maine. Came in, bought the place up, and then forced out the bear hunters, closed all the roads. So it's still going on today. It's not right, and it's fighting grounds for me. But anyways, let's not go down that road. But Jake wasn't very happy about it anyways. Even at 80, he was still mad about his family losing them 5 hunting camps to the Allagash Wilderness Waterway. And they saved it, but it's not even the best river in the state. And after I ran the St. John, that's exactly what I said. Yes, there's some pretty sights on the Allagash. And there's a lot of people that have canoed it are going to agree with me. But let me tell you something. It is nothing compared to the St. John River. Absolutely nothing. We ran the Allagash from top to bottom. We put in T-Loss. We put in at T-Loss and pulled out in Allagash Village at the top of the state. 10 days later, we took 10 days to run down that river. Spent a bunch of days on Eagle Lake. We spent some time on Churchill Lake. You know, because you canoe it. Most people get on the river and they go from top to bottom as fast as they can. I'm not that kind of canoer. I take my time, enjoy the ride, just plain enjoy absolutely everything going down through a river like that. So after these, we did the St. John, we did the Allagash. Like I said, fishing was great, all that. The other thing I didn't like about the Allagash was the checkpoints every 25 miles. And they do it for a reason. It's to protect the public and to protect all the people coming down through the Allagash that probably have any business being out in the woods. But anyways, if you don't check in at the checkpoint, they come and find you every 25 miles. Well, when I'm out in the woods, I like to be left alone. That's just the way I am. I've got more than enough equipment. I got more than enough experience. Leave me alone. I don't need a babysitter. And that's how I felt that the rangers were just nothing more than babysitters on the Allagash Wilderness Waterway. I imagine they're still doing that, but to me, no thank you. Well, this video's gotten long enough. I see we're going up to almost 15 minutes now. But that, you know, I'll talk about this stuff more, depending on you know, if people watch this video or not. You know, we can tell. We can tell by the watch time. You know, if you got a 15-minute video and they only got 2 minutes is the average watch time, then it's a video people don't want to see. The videos that do the best are the ones that I'm ranting about something. Well, I hate to rant all the time because that's just not my nature. But anyways, that's the story of the Allagash, and like I said, I will go into depth more on that topic if we see how this video does, I guess. So anyways, hey, throw me a bone. Take the time to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already subscribed. If you're watching all my videos on TV, please take the 5 minutes that it takes to log on to a computer, your cell phone, go to my home page on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. I love it that you guys are watching them on TV and all that, but do take the time to subscribe. That's the only way that YouTube figures out that you guys want to watch my videos. And without YouTube knowing that, then it's useless. So anyways, have coffee, throw me a bone, and I'll see you next week.